We are here at the Missouri Wall of Fame. This is Cape Girardeau. This is painted on the back of the levee walls, and it is a compendium of everybody famous who came from the state of Missouri. We're here because there is a bunch of antiquing in Cape Girardeau. I haven't been here in a really long time. It's the show me state, so show me something great. Cape Girardeau has certainly fixed itself up a lot in the last 20 years since I've been here, but it's still a place for antiques. There are 3 antique malls downtown and some other shops as well, and we're going to see how much we can see today. This is the store where my mother found one of her most prized alligator collectibles. It has a lovely jaw that bounces up and down and looks like it's going to chomp you. I'm glad to see that it's still here because I remember it was a pretty good mall and I bought some neat stuff too, so let's see what they have today. This is called Pastimes Antiques. It's a big store. This looks like it was originally a department store as well, so it's set up well for this. I see a big sold sign on this pedal car. This is a more recent one, but certainly cute in that pink color. This dealer has half off of all of their decanters, and boy, they have a bunch of them. Most of them look like the Jim Beam, and again, if it's not the cars, they don't really sell. And they prefer the more modern race cars to these older ones. Pretty decent price on this Weller piece here. We don't see the footed version of this. This is 1930s Weller when they were starting to do a lot of molded ware. Priced at $18. Interestingly enough, there isn't really a place for them to have put the signature on this one because of the feet. Most of them are marked with cursive script in that era. Lots of Fenton in the peach crest here. This one in the middle is a little more unusual because of this handle, and I do not believe that this one is a Fenton piece. I think this is probably Czech, looking at the way it's finished and shaped. Parchment and Pine, the 3-piece set here. This is the console bowl. Mid-50s modernism with your side vases. Old Sears radio there, that's got a good shape. A couple of neat souvenir pieces for the Prince of Wales visiting the commemoration of the opening of the Tower Bridge, and the Duchess of York visiting one, and these are from the 1890s with the gold embossing on leather. 30% off the vintage jewelry. Let's see if we see anything. I like the blue stone in that gold with the pierce work. That's going to be about $20 with the discount. I'm getting ready for my Florida show season, and I am looking for things for that. And I see a Seminole doll in there. I can't really read the price, so I may have to have them take that out. But she looks like an older one because she doesn't have the day glow colors in the rickrack and the clothing. It actually looks like it's got nice old cotton. I see some interesting compacts in here in the $10 to $20 range that look like they might be interesting to see up close. Some good colors. I see a Stratton from England, a Dubarry, the little one there in the middle right. Yeah, I think we'll take a look at those. This is really neat. I like the combination of the acrylic with the metal and the painting. It's priced at $18. It is missing just a couple of stones, unfortunately. $12 on this piece, and I believe this is Stratton from England. It looks like their shape. I like the colors. There's the mark on the back. We're going to take a look at the condition of the mirror, but for $12, I think that's a yes. Oh, unfortunately, no powder puff. Well, that's too bad. We'll push that in so that we don't snap it. It's better to push those in and not always be forcing the lock. Okay, this bottom shelf seems to be half off. It's dealer 4. These are Renovated. We'll see how the condition is. Oh, but boy, that's really floppy, and I don't think that can be fixed. It looks like it's been bent. Darn. These are fun ear clips with lots of dangle. They're just plastic and rhinestone, but they've got a look, and the faceting in the plastic works. For me, the clips are good, and it's only $7 at half off, so I think we'll take those. Southeast Missouri University is here, and they're offering a 20% discount in this room to students because this room is full of vintage and resale clothing, and there's certainly a big selection here. I always can be persuaded to look at a hat. However, I don't get a 20% student discount. My student days are over. Different style of United Starburst clock here. This one's priced at $60. I like the old comic displays. They've got the old superheroes and Archie and Richie Rich. This is what comic displays were like in drugstores when I was a kid. They were all left over from the early 60s, I think. Snoopy flashlight. This would have been a stocking stuffer from the 1970s. It's priced at $20 now. 2 Charlie Weavers in the box. This guy is great. In working order, which it looks like these are, you put the battery in and he will pour himself a drink, drink the drink, and then smoke comes out of his ears. That's what these little pieces here are for. They are priced at $100 each because in working order, that's what they go for now. Before they moved to Arizona, they were the St. Louis football Cardinals, and they had to specify because they also had the St. Louis baseball Cardinals. One of the few things where you had the same mascot for 2 different sports in the same town. Caused a bit of confusion. This is priced at $75. It's from Howe's Art about 1970. As for Cardinals baseball, they're still going strong. Here are the boxes with your season tickets for 1977 and 1980s. A whole bunch of old advertising, all sorts of factories, everything from ice and roller skates, that would be pretty collectible if it didn't have a chip, to pipe companies and compounding companies and sawmills. I can't really see the prices on any of these. Some of these can be pretty collectible depending on the subject, and you can see era starting about 1901, compliments of the Onion Social Club. The things to look for with these old advertising paperweights are anything with a vehicle, anything with a manufacturing complex, and anything in color or with a nude. And I see at least 1 or 2 of each of those in here, so when they have some help available, I will be taking a look. Bunch of screen print pictures over the years, 1950s and 60s. The 50s have these more rounded shapes, and the 60s have these taller cylindrical shapes that taper. And then you've got this is Anchor Hawking, and you can tell by the lid this is the Manhattan Go-Along, but on this one they haven't put the ribs in, they've just done a screen print of roses, $27 on that. And there's a caddy with the glasses that are almost a match. Those look like poppies actually, $39. This is a Grand Army of the Republic ribbon, and the Grand Army of the Republic not only had encampments, but they actually had fraternal clubs. This is post number 45 from Galesburg, Illinois, and James T. Shield, or one of his descendants, has framed the piece with the conical 3-ring Union bullets shown prominently. This is Shawnee pottery, Tom Tom the Piper's Son. This is priced at $30. There was a time that was a really good price, and this one seems to be in great shape. I don't think they go for $60 anymore. There was a time I would have snatched this up at that price. And it just says, Tom the Piper's Son, patented USA, but Shawnee Pottery in Ohio was the producer of this right about 1940 when their whimsy lines were really, really popular. Days were dark and bad things were happening in the world, and people just needed to see friendly faces. After the war, when modernism became the thing, this is what Shawnee looked like. This is a cool 50s modern vase of theirs. They kept producing until 1961. That's only $14, but I see it has a hairline crack. So unfortunately, we'll have to leave it right there. Especially because cracks grow. Chips are one thing, they don't get bigger. Cracks can get bigger. Well, this is kind of cool. Lone Star Beer. And that was a real brand. It's only priced at $5, and with that great graphic, I think I've got to get that. You found the first and only one we'll ever see. The classic penguin hot cold keeper, yes. Okay, these seem to all be $22 a piece, so we're going to see if any of these do a dealer discount. We're going to look for things like unusual shapes and a good logo, and the fact that it's New York City, that all helps. And I think this one is a possibility. This one is interesting for the verbiage, but only verbiage doesn't usually grab people's attention. This one's great because it's Tradewater coal, and Dawson Springs is on the Tradewater, and it flows through Sturgis, which has an antique mall, and I'm sure they would love to have this, but it's got a big chunk out of it. Now this one's in color, and it shows a factory and a ship. So those are all good things. It was applied a little bit crookedly though, and there is a little color coming off the back. You have to be careful of that too, because a lot of times like this one, you know, they just stuck them in and pasted them in. These were not expensive when they were new, of course. So that one has possibilities. This one is good because it shows the factory, but it's got a ton of surface wear, and that's a problem as well as a chip. This place makes laces and curtains, but it's pretty worn as well. Let's see what else we have here. I like this one because it says it is Western Grocer Mills, and it shows a factory and a lot of different towns. That spot in the middle has come through the glass though, so that's out. This one's a little taller, which is interesting, but the ones with a face, unless it's someone well known, don't seem to do too well. I like the table better, but this one below with the angels, that is the one that probably has the most possibility. But again, it's got a chip. It's too bad. I have a feeling this was a great collection and that it is sold down. Fletcher Manufacturing, this one's not bad because, now what do they make? Corset laces, wicks, boot and shoelaces, braids, and small wares made out of various ribbons and cords, it sounds like. That's got potential. This one would be really good if it wasn't damaged. Ice and roller skates, anything that's fun, that's what people are most interested in. But again, damaged. So I think we have a few possibilities here. We're going to see if they do any dealer discounts. Now this is something different. Album of the Cuban Revolution, 1952 to 1959. I sell to a lot of people who collect Cuban things in Florida. I'm not so sure that the Glorious Revolution is going to appeal to them, but this is interesting because this was made to be done in Cuba, where you would cut and paste and learn all about the Glorious Revolution while you did it. It was a 7-year civil war, and in effect, a lot of very poor people rose up against the wealthy classes and the corruption, and then all hell broke loose. Cuba has not really fared terribly well since, but then again, it wasn't doing all that well before. Only one of these has sold recently, but it sold for $150. Now this one has a few little problems on the front, and I hate that they stuck the price tag right on the paper, but I think we can get that off with the help of a hairdryer. But because the other one sold for $150, I think I will get this one for $20. Well, we're sure having fun walking around and discovering the antiques and vintage in this town. And if you're having fun doing this with us, well, please hit that thumbs up button to like this video. Please do subscribe if you haven't. It's free, and then you can click the bell to be notified of future videos. And also check out our memberships or our Patreon. Patreon gives you early access and no ads. And you can just go to the Antique Nomad at Patreon to find out more about that. Old Masonite Pepsi Cola two-sided sign. And then this is Schweppes Tonic. This looks like a big old pocket watch, but it is one of those curiously refreshing in any weather readers. A barometer, in other words, or temperature gauge. 20% off, so that would be about $100 with the discount. The inflatable is known as the Titanic 2. I'm not sure I would want to float on that. It's only priced at $175 though, so if it's in good shape and holds air, well, until you hit that iceberg, it'd be a great thing to paddle around in. Clearheads choose Calvert. Yes, believe it or not, that was a whiskey slogan. The owl is great, good design. This is from about 1950, made by Taylor Smith Taylor. In fact, 1940 something, you can tell by the date code. Priced at $30. Blind Dreams Stag Beer. I don't entirely get the Blind Dream part, but I get the rest of it. This looks like something from the 1980s, priced at $100. The skateboard is kind of cool. Older skateboards with interesting graphics can definitely be collectible, but I think this one's newer than it looks. Oh yes, those are Blanco actually, and how much do they have on those?
Guess.
$30.
25.
25. That's not terrible. No, and they're $20 with the discount. Yeah, these are not ever marked unless they have the original foil label on them. They're from the early 70s. This space is 20% off, and I love these old wire stands. They're very useful for plants, but they're also useful at antique shows. This would be $48 with the discount. I want to show this sign because, of course, eBay does not allow you to sell anything with a swastika or Nazi related. I understand why. They don't want to offend people's sensibilities, and there also are a lot of reproductions that are really, really hard to police through just pictures. But that statement right there tells you why people are collecting this sort of stuff. And they do have quite a selection here, a bunch of iron crosses from the First World War from Germany, an interesting regimental pipe with a very, very long cherry stem that's highly carved. That's priced at $4.95. Very unusual piece. This is a Bavarian World War I general officer's helmet. Looks like this is California Originals to me. Does not say, but it is a cute piece. This would have been part of a pair originally. And with the discount, it's only $12.50. Oh yes, the small size sundial casserole. You don't really see the small so much. Kenwood was part of Shawnee, but Kenwood was a burgeoning suburb of Cincinnati in the 50s, so they named it after that. These look like Blue Mountain Pottery's Green Splash, and they even say handmade in Canada, but that's our clue that they're not Blue Mountain Pottery because they don't have the right stamp, and also because the splash is very, very small and just sort of at the tips, and Blue Mountain tend to do a much more dramatic splash. So I believe that this is one of the smaller Canadian companies that did a lot of knockoffs of Blue Mountain when that became popular in the 50s and 60s and 70s. They are only asking $8 a piece for them. It's really cool here. I'm showing you from the back because I want to show you that it is 1956 Lane & Company. It is the double flamingo, and it is pretty major. Let's see the condition. Now it is priced at $100 with the discount, and it says it's as is and has some chips, so I probably should leave it, but that's a hard one to find with the double flamingo and the built-in planter. This is one of those really so cutesy, over the top, and it's a bank on both sides. Is that supposed to be a monkey in a dress and a dog in a dress?
Hey.
Wow. That is so bad that it's good. Let's see the price, $32. Painting and mailing coconuts is something that has been done. I even have one a friend of mine sent me 30 years ago. But this one is significant because the painting on it refers to Guadalcanal, a place in the Philippines that was the site of many horrific battles in the Second World War. Now, if you were a Masonic collector, this is for the 60th anniversary in 1913 of the number 25 in Newark, New Jersey. This is going to be priced at $75. Let's see if we can see the maker. This is where the blue flows intentionally. And sure enough, it was made by one of the Trenton, New Jersey companies. I have World's Fair collectors who love to see me in Florida. And at $12, I will probably take the souvenir book on the left because it looks like it's really clean. The New York World's Fair tray is a possibility as well. There's some flower power pins. This Jackie O, the world's most expensive perfume. So there's a few things in this case that I think are worth taking a look at. This is pool pottery from England. It's just a small piece. You see the mark there. It's a company we don't see so much, but I like the colors on that a lot. It's in good condition, priced at $20. Here's an interesting advertising clock, a copper hammered onto a mold, and it is for Continental Tyroleans, which are those boots, I presume, for hiking up in the Swiss Alps. And this is priced at $69. In this booth, I'm rather taken by this open wire desk with the chair and the Formica top. The Formica top's not so exciting, but I really like the open work, the fact that it has shelving, and it's just a very late 50s, early 60s look. Now the question is, what is the price? And it actually has two chairs, and it is only $49 for the entire set. I did not bring a vehicle big enough to get this, but if I am driving back through here, if it lasts that long, I would pick this up for that price. Busch Bavarian beer, that is priced at $120. The prices on this stuff, if it works, which this does, it lights, have just gone through the roof because all of the old Burriana is disappearing into collections. Somewhat along the lines of Royal Crown Derby, at least in terms of trying to be very highly decorated, Wedgwood came out with the Noah's Ark line, and this is the kangaroo from that series. You don't see it too often, actually. It's only priced at $20. Behind it, from about 1980, is the Super Bowl set with stacking, smiling people, and then you could leave it out on the counter because it had this neat little cap that would also keep your soup warm. $35 on that set. I have always liked that piece, yes.
Scratched, but
I know, it's unfortunate because, well, $30 probably is about the right price, but I've always liked that aluminum and then the aluminum holder with the double circles. This one was done by Regal, which is one of the many in Wisconsin and other places that did this.
only $11.
Oh, only $11. See, and this one has the wooden handles, which is the replacement for the Bakelite. Yeah, schmutzy. It could probably be cleaned, but not a bad price for it. Vaporizer, yes.
You put like an insulated liquid, you know, you could pour in there and it would like...
Come spewing out.
No, it just comes out here, but it carries it with it.
Oh, I see. Yes, the steam carries it with. Yeah, and it has that holder, which is usually missing. Here's a cute set, and this is open so we can actually take a look. These are the peekaboos, and on one side they are perfectly nice, and from the other side, well, they're a wee bit naughty, and that's the peephole. And it is $85 for the set. Usually these decals are pretty worn, and these seem to be in really good shape, so even though there is one glass missing, it's still a pretty good deal for the price. These are over bed lamps. You would hang these off of your headboard. Back in the 30s and 40s, this was a popular thing to do. And then you would just pull the chain when you wanted to go to sleep, and that was your night light and your reading light and everything. And there's another example right there that Zeno pointed out that I had missed. This one's in plastic, 1950s. After that time, you really don't see people doing that this much, but it's actually a pretty smart way of giving you extra light if you need it. When Red Wing started making things other than crockery, you would see pieces like this, Union stoneware. But here is a neat sgraffito style molded piece, sgraffito being this in sizing. And this one is priced at $48, which is not a bad price. This is an early piece of Red Wing, sometime around 1920. Somebody has purchased the Disney Lennox Spice set. That's a neat piece with all the parts. I love Don Blanding's books and his silhouettes, and he did this line for Vernon Kilns along with some others. This is the Leilani. This is the most colorful of the lines. 45 pieces for $245 is really not a bad deal. You don't see a lot of this because it went into collections years ago. Trench art is not strictly limited to metal pieces. We typically think of it that way, but you can see there's a lot of carved wood pieces as well. People had a lot of time during war. This is a really interesting piece here with the clock set in the front and the applied pieces. That's rather unusual. You see a German one on the left because everybody did it. There's Royal Air Force from England on the right. They have some really unusual pieces. This is quite an extensive collection of this. And prices, you know, they're anywhere from about $40 up to a few hundred. Several pieces from Verdun. Verdun was the most horrible, lengthy battle of World War I, and a lot of folks did not come home from there. Hundreds of thousands of people died at Verdun. These are interesting too. Your motto, be loving to daddy. This is from a World War I internment camp, carved of bone. The Dutch windmill with the clock, that's a pretty amazing piece. Here's His Majesty's ship, Valentine. A lot of these are made out of old shells. It's really amazing how creative the people who made these were. Down here, this is Naval Division internment camp art from the Royal Navy from the First World War. Most of these are frames and boxes that they would make. Rings for your sweetheart. They really were just using whatever material was available. Really interesting collection. I've seen so many things in here that you just rarely see. And of course, These pieces were handmade, so they're pretty much all individual and unique. It's really great to see a military dealer that really knows their stuff and has a really big selection of it. It's quite incredible, really. There are some really beautiful designs, and there's reasons that people made this. It was to be kept and collected. It wasn't all just to commemorate the horrors of war. A lot of this was done to be something beautiful and turn something that came from a very dark place into something lovely that people would want to keep. This one has a little bit of deliberate greening inside, priced at $50. I have to say these prices for what these pieces are very much fair and in line. They also have a lot of American, French, and English posters from the wars and flags. It's a really, really thorough display of militaria like you really don't usually see. Well, the trench art collection turns out to be owned by Jeff Schaefer, who is an Antiques Roadshow appraiser, and he bought what was the biggest collection known in the United States, and that's what you're seeing sold here. So that's why it's so amazing and extensive. All right, we're going to head downstairs. It says there's a 50% off sale. I have a feeling that this is kind of the overflow area, but let's take a look.
You can show.
Fraternity paddles, a strange ritual there, but they are actually somewhat collectible, and only $10 is probably a price worth getting them. The older one, of course, is the one on the right here, well, and the one in the middle. This one's nice and thin. Somebody had the right idea. If you're going to get whacked with a board, make sure it's a thin one. The Marx Jr. dial typewriter. That was a lot of work just to type one sentence. The Punk jack-o'-lantern, handmade Georgia red clay pumpkin face. I can't say I've ever seen this before. Craven's Pottery out of Gillsville, Georgia. Not familiar to me. Let's see what it looks like when you get it out of the box. Well, there it is. Now, how old is this? It's got some age, it looks like. Let's take a look at the twisty turner and see where this was made. And if it seems to work, which it does. Looks to be late 70s, early 80s, as best as I can tell from the graphics, and it is priced at $75. This is in great condition with the light, but the lenticulars that flash to another view are the ones that really sell. Well, that was fun. And they had some great stuff, and now we're on to see the next place.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.